Good evening, everybody. This is Quarantine Day 54, and this is the only evening episode, I suppose, for the day. Oh, well, back to having a little bit of a challenging child for bedtime. It's been kind of off and on, but we did have for this past week a bit more of a respite from the woes of being a parent of a young child. So, yeah, just another day of quarantine. We're heading into the weekend here. It's going to be a Friday. I just can't help but seeing this debate come alive, and as I was stating back on one of the episodes about looking into the future of where does this go, and this was probably back in mid-April that I was talking about this. I think we're now in May, and we're now at the point where I think people are no longer able to stay in quarantine. More and more things are coming back online, and the virus is going to spread, and there's nothing that we can really do about it, and other than just, some of the treatments that we have, and trying to, wear masks more, try to not be in contact with other people too close, standing apart a bit, trying to do more outside, more commerce outside, and of course, just washing your hands and being very sanitary. So that's kind of what we're left with, and I know some just people are at different phases of accepting this, and I'm not one to be needing to go out there and end this quarantine myself, but it's coming, and we are rapidly approaching the new stay-at-home date, which is May 17th in Minnesota here, and this is just a hard debate, and I think, sadly, it's divided us more than united us, and maybe it was a little bit of a naive hope that I thought, we could become more united, and I still hope in some ways we do, but just different tolerances of this from different folks have made it so that, we're going to go back to it, and it's understandable. It's just understandable because, part of this is that, we're working in a somewhat medical field. I hear people saying, like, folks are afraid to go into the doctors for what they need to go into the doctors for. And so sometimes the conditions are getting worse, so this quarantine and this fear is perhaps making things worse in some ways than better. So I mean, there's points across the board to understanding this, and this is a very nuanced situation. And I don't think we're going to go back to having baseball in July. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think businesses are going to start opening, and I think we thought at the beginning of this quarantine that maybe this virus, if we hunkered down for a month, the virus would become more traceable. It would just die down. And we found out two things about it. And those two things are, it was way more widespread than we initially realized, and it's not as deadly as we initially thought. And so when we take those two things into account, we kind of have to almost have like a mind frame change. So, and I don't know if this is right. Is now the mindset to go for herd immunity and protect those who are immunocompromised while the virus then spreads through whatever it needs to spread through, like 60% of the population, and then falls flat? That sounds horrifying, but is that the choice we're left with? Or is it that we are going to try to keep snuffing it out by really aggressive testing and figuring out where all the contact traces are? Is that our strategy? Is that the end game? And I just don't see the quarantine being able to last through May. So there's my thoughts. But the good news is the virus is less deadly than we think, even though and that's not to make light of all the people that are dying from it, because it's significant. But it appears to be more widespread and less deadly. And we're left with this choice. I think this is the May choice. I think April was the hold tight. We're trying to figure out more information about this, and we're maybe trying to get it down to the point where it's not spreading. But May, we're having to make a decision here about what is our plan. Is it herd immunity, or is it contact tracing to snuffing it out? Which is realistic? I don't have that answer, but I think that's the ultimate decision that we now have with the facts that are on the table. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.